Hi everybody, and thank you for joining me today. So today we'll be working on the fairy companion, Tattle I think she's called in this game. I got part of one of her wings done. Now working on her body. So as I say, I stitched diagonal-ish and not strict diagonal. So yeah, as you can see, it's kind of straight in some bits because that's just how the background happened to work out. So yeah, your fairy in this game, she was a lot meaner than Navi from the first game. Navi or Navi, I was never sure, but I called her Navi, so yeah. In this one, she's yeah, she's kind of mean to you. Like if you try to open one of the room doors in the inn and you don't have a key, she says, "Oh, sneaking into other people's rooms, you're the worst," and stuff like that. And it's funny because she gets separated from her brother because she was all being mean to you, and then she blames you for it. But then by the end, you're friends, so yeah. Yeah, I was saying this was an unusual Zelda game because there's no Princess Zelda in this one. All the other games, you know, there's the princess, but not this one. Okay, let's see. All right, I think, yeah, I'm gonna do one out of order here because it's just too much trouble to avoid it. So that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, I apologize if there's background noise. I'm not alone home in the house today, so. And I always feel kind of weird monologuing when there's other people around, but oh well. We'll persevere, right? Yeah, so this project is going nice and quick. I'm past 19% now. And I've been working on this just under a month because I started it like December 6th or something. So yeah. So yeah, it is going very fast. I should definitely have this done in less than 6 months, that's for sure. Although I don't promise, of course. You never know. Life can get in the way, so. Okay, so. Park that there, but I'm not gonna leave it threaded because it's really short. Okay, so now I'm gonna fill in all these bits. Yeah, was able to make quite a bit of progress. Like yesterday I did over 700 stitches because pardon me, there was some fairly big blocks of color because of some background and working on the top of Link's hat. Didn't have to change colors as much, so got a fair amount done. I just managed to thread my needle. Yeah, when the pieces get this short, they're even more prone to having fuzzy ends because they've been pulled through the fabric quite a bit. So I have to be careful about my pin stitches here because some of these colors, especially getting into the center of her body, are quite light. Yeah, let's just, okay, that's still dark enough, it'll cover it good. Yeah, like I've said, I don't have this all memorized. When I've been working on a pattern long enough, I eventually get the symbols sort of memorized, what color they belong to, so I know if it's light or dark stitches, but usually that takes me a couple of months at least, so probably by the time I get these memorized, I'll be done. Since, like I said, less than 50,000 stitches. Nowadays, that is a small project. It's all relative because you have some designers, what they call a mini pattern is a standard size for another pattern from another designer, like the Cross Stitch Studio or Heaven and Earth Designs. Their minis are still pretty big. Yeah, they say there's about a 30% loss of detail for the minis, but I have to say some of them you cannot tell. It depends on the pattern, I guess. Okay, fairly long carry here, but oh well. It's still less than if I ended the thread and restarted it. Okay, 37.87. Yeah, so as you can see, I'm kind of going across more than one diagonal at a time. It's just how the pattern is going. I especially do that when there's bigger blocks. So when I get to the far right hand side with the sky there, I'm going to be working across probably 4 or even 5 at once, because yeah, they are there's quite a huge block there. It helps avoid lines. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll do some detail work on the left-hand side, then sort of spread over to the right to do the big blocks and back and forth, so I don't get bored with either one. Okay, so those. Yeah, I've gone through most of my other patterns, looked through on Pattern Keeper. I don't think I have any that are as confetti intense as my last focus piece, the Soulful Mediterranean Tranquility. That was pretty much unrelenting confetti. But the results were definitely worth it. But yeah, I had a lot of days where it was like, okay, my brain is just mush now. Okay, I think I may skip again. Yeah, because I don't want to leave just one stitch by itself there when I don't think I have any spare short bits. No, I don't. So, like I say, my method is a guideline, not strict rules. My only strict rule is always parking in the same spot so I don't mix myself up. So for me, that is always the upper right corner. Doesn't really matter what you pick as long as you are consistent. Unless you're better than me at keeping threads straight. Because yeah, the problem is sometimes if you park in the lower left for some, then you'll end up with 2 threads coming out of the same spot, and then trying to figure out which one is which can be challenging, especially if you're working in an area where there's a lot of similar shades of the same color. So. Oh, what am I doing? Silly me. There's a gap there. Yeah, I didn't sleep so great because my neck's been hurting. I really need to go get it adjusted, get it treated. But Cairo office is closed today, so I have to hold on till tomorrow. Yeah, it was bad around Christmas, then it seemed to get better, but now it's bothering me again, so. Yeah, I sort of have to go once or twice a year. It's been a chronic issue since I was a kid. Got my first nerve pinch in 4th grade, so Yeah, if people are saying, oh, once you turn 40, you know, you can't turn your neck to the left all the way. So, oh, I haven't been able to do that since I was a kid. So, yeah. Yeah, I discovered those curved pillows that are supposed to avoid neck pain actually made it worse for me. I instead need the flattest one like I have, or my neck just gets very messed up. I guess maybe if you are able to sleep very still, but the problem is you move, and then if your head ends up in the wrong place on the curved part, it pulls everything out of alignment. I don't know. My husband will sleep with his pillow going halfway up the headboard, and I said, God, my neck hurts just looking at you doing that. I don't know how you sleep that way, but he's fine. He almost never goes out of alignment, so I don't know. Super lucky, I guess. Okay. Yeah, so I hope you all are staying warm out there. Heard a lot of people lost power, so I hope it's been restored. We were lucky in ours. Ours was okay. Yeah, I always try to save the detail work for my Stitch With Me sessions so you have something interesting to watch. I think me stitching, you know, a page of all the same color would not be very interesting. Getting to some area where not everything is blue or purple. So yeah, the beginning of this pattern was like entirely blue. Not that I mind. I like blue. Okay, I'm going to fill this in, and then I'm going to go back over to the left, work my way back out like I usually do. All right, some green here. Another color I would have expected, but yeah, I remember when I was a teenager and I photocopied some patterns from the library book, and I forgot to photocopy the color key. And I was like, oh, so upset, you know, because, and my dad says, well, just pick the colors. I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way. It's not that easy. Of course, he's not a stitcher, so he didn't get it, right? I said, no, that's like saying you had a copy of a bunch of stuff in code and you forgot the cipher. It's not going to be, you can't just make it up, you know? Oh, so I ended up never doing those. I think I still have those in a drawer somewhere. Page is probably totally yellow by now from age. Now, I wouldn't want to work off paper anymore anyway. Like I've said before, I've been very spoiled working from an app. Yeah, I'm not the only one. There's a lot of designers I see now that say they're Pattern Keeper or Markup RX friendly. Because, yeah, a lot of people are like me and they won't even buy a pattern anymore that they can't use the app for it. Okay. 3041. Another purpley one. Yeah, so it'll be time to take my Christmas decorations down soon, too. And the house always looks so empty after you do that. Whoops. Yeah, it was kind of sad when I have to take them down, but if I kept it up all the time, it's not special anymore, right? Well, my tree's fake, so it's not going to be a fire hazard. Oh, I had that once. We had a real tree and forgot to water it, so it was dead. Then we drove halfway to family's house, like 3 hours away, before we realized we left the lights on. So and this was, of course, before LED lights, so they get hot. So, yeah, we had to turn around and go back home and turn them off just in case. Wouldn't have wanted a fire and would have been worried the whole visit that there would be one. So, yeah, I remember when I lived in my first apartment, you weren't allowed to have real trees because of that. Because of the potential fire hazard. Because you know some people are going to forget to water their tree and it dries out. So, yeah, that's actually how we ended up with a fake tree. I said, oh, okay, fine, we'll just skip it this year. And my husband, who was then my fiance, said, no, we can't do that. We have to have a tree. So, our wedding was in January, so yeah, I was kind of focused on that. Last minute preparations and all that, so. Yeah, and then we had surprise snow on our wedding day. So that was fun because, yeah, we lived in an area at the time that did not get much snow, so. But we made it, and it made for some really nice pictures, too. It's quite pretty. Oh, people asked why we picked January. It didn't have any special significance. It was just, it was then or we had to wait till after Easter. We just said, okay, January's fine then. Subject to availability, so yeah. Yeah, that pin stitch didn't quite disappear as well as I like them to, but that's okay. Be stitching over it with a brown, so it should cover it up. No problem. Okay, 37.82. Yeah, we're gonna have quite a few threads in this area, I think, for a while. A fair bit of detail here. The outer edges of Tattle's body here. Well, she's a ball of light, so this is sort of the diffuse edges here. I remember being really sad when I played Ocarina of Time at the end. And you put the Master Sword back and Navi sort of flies around you a little bit, sort of saying goodbye. Doesn't say anything, and she flies out the window, and it was like, oh no, don't go. Okay. Okay, I'm going to do this color since it's the last, and that way I can tie off that thread. Always try to end threads before adding new ones when possible. Keeps things a little less messy. Of course, sometimes that's just unavoidable. Yeah, do the same here. Oh, make sure you grab the right thread though. Yeah, I knew 3031 is not that color. I knew it's a darker color. I think I've got an end coming up here, yes. There we go. Yeah, and then probably next week, I'm gonna finally wash and iron my last finished piece and mount it. That's the plan anyway. Well, knowing you all are eager to see it completed and hung up kind of gives me some incentive there. Okay. All right, then I'm going to do this color first so I can do all of those J stitches at once. 3, 3, 7, 1 again. Oh, siren out there. I hope nobody had an accident. I swear everybody forgets how to drive on the snow and ice. Has to relearn every time there's a big snowfall. Yeah, we got some ice out there. Tree in the backyard is outlined in ice. Come on. Oh my. There. Yeah, sometimes doing that from the front is a little tricky. So you can't see what I'm doing, but with some practice I was able to do it. Now I don't have to turn my work like ever, unless there's actually a knot on the back. 37, 81. Oh, pardon me. Ah. All right. That thread was just the right length. I love when that happens. it's covered. Okay, 3053. Ooh. Ooh. Oh, goodness. Mm. Oh my gosh. Oh, actually, keep that envelope out because I could probably save these ends. Put them back in there. Oh, it's borderline. I'll save it to see if I could actually use it later. These confetti areas definitely slow things down. Oh, come on. There. Slow progress is still progress. Yeah, and then underneath the fairy, we're going to get the top of a Zora Link's hat. It was interesting in the game. Apparently, what day you rescue the Zora from the water, how far out to sea he is depends on what day it is, which I never noticed. I was watching the Luigi Brothers series on it, and yeah, he starts off closer to shore, and as more time goes by in the 3-day cycle, the further he gets away from shore, depending on which day you rescue him. I always thought it's funny, like, he can't swim to shore, you know. And then he stands up and starts playing his guitar. Like, okay. Priorities, I guess. He didn't have the strength to get to shore, but he can give you one last performance. There's a little fish skeleton guitar. Yeah, I was able to get all the masks in this game, but I was never able to get all the stray fairies in the temples. I could defeat the temple, but getting all the fairies was too frustrating for me. You don't really need them. I mean, they give you... The great fairies give you bonuses if you bring all the stray fairies to them. Yeah, especially the stone tower temple, the one that you flip upside down. That one was super tough. I managed to get them all in the forest temple and in the water temple, but I wasn't able to get them all in the stone tower temple. Or what was the last one? I'm trying to think now, because there were 4 compass points. Oh, I did get it in the Snowhead temple, the mountain one, once. But yeah, it was that upside down temple, the forest one. I couldn't get all the fairies. My husband managed, and then you get, they call it the fairy sword, which is like a C button item, and it looks like a giant feather, and it's fairly powerful. Although not quite as good as the Master Sword. Yeah, my sister-in-law is having a Legend of Zelda wedding, so that's going to be really cool. They're going to dress up as Link and Zelda, and her fiance even got a Master Sword made for her, but they can't use it for the wedding, so, but yeah. Yeah, they're hardcore fans, that's for sure. It's pretty cool. Yeah, so excited for that. Okay, 3864. Yeah, there are a lot of colors in this area. Okay. Ah, 9,216. I probably won't hit 10,000 today, but tomorrow I should for sure. Yeah, I should say I'm probably going to get this to 25% before the end of January, I would think. Yeah, I also haven't been working exclusively on this. I did, like I said last month, I rotated in my Firefly and did a bit on that. And I may try to do that each month so that I can make a bit of progress on it. Maybe I'll reach 10% done by the end of the year. Who knows? I'm at 3% done now, so. But on that pattern, 10% is a lot. 10% is over 55,000 stitches, so more than this entire project, so. Here's a brand new color. Bought it just for this pattern. Oops. Let's try that again. There. Want the ends to line up so I'm not wasting any. Okay, 3828. Yes, I've been trying Duolingo this year. Kind of did some research. Some say it's not effective, and some people are swearing by it, so I'm just doing the free version, and we'll see. I don't know. Like I've said, I studied French in school for years, and I still can't speak it. Put it this way, when I watch anything and they're speaking French, I still need the subtitles. I can usually catch enough to get the gist, but yeah, not proficient in it. Of course, I wasn't very invested in learning it at the time, you know, it was required, so of course I didn't want to learn it. Yeah, and I transferred schools, and in my old school system, I don't know, it was more like they did the French theory more, and then in my new school, they basically expected you to be able to be conversational with it, and I was just like, totally lost. It was not good. You know, the other students could carry on a simple conversation in French, and I was just like, not so much for me. Okay, 3024. Yeah, my husband speaks 2 languages, but he did start learning it, his second when he was 5, so yeah. They say after age 10 it is a lot harder to learn a new language, especially if you're not like immersed in it. So yeah, my parents tried French immersion with me for a little bit, and then I didn't like everyone was calling me pajamas, because my name's Gemma, so yeah. Yeah, I think I was only in that for a couple of weeks. I don't think my sister tried French immersion at all. My parents decided after that not to bother. But yeah, Canada, there's quite a lot of French immersion schools around, so yeah, we sort of have 2 tracks at my son's high school, so some of the classes are French immersion and some are English. You decide pretty early on, I think before you hit high school, which ones you want to do, so. Yeah, so one of my friends is a teacher, so she's like, yeah, I teach science and math in French. Okay. I'm going to park this here, and I'm going to have another thread for sort of the other side of this. I'm already planning ahead here. Okay, 3863. stitch is kind of by itself, so I'm not going to park anything from it. Oops. There we go. Got it to cooperate. Yeah, lots of yellows and light browns here for the fairy. I have so many colors, I have 2 tubs, so have to make sure I'm putting it back in the correct one. All right, make sure I mark that I did that before I move on. Okay, it's kind of okay, $7.96. Yeah, it was funny seeing with Duolingo, some of the stuff some of the sentences are very odd. There's one that was, the lamp is outside, like, or that's not an apple, it's a car. Right, because that's a phrase I could see myself using in real life. That one was super uneven. Oh my gosh. Okay. Hello. It'll take me a while to reach 100 here with all the color changing. Yeah, so like I've said, I'm more diagonal-ish today. It's kind of a weird curve because the fairy's body is curved, so that's just the way it turned out. Oh, wonder what someone's doing out there. Saw someone drive by with a bobcat, so I don't know, maybe they're moving snow. Yeah, so we had our a really big cold snap, like I said a couple weeks ago. We usually don't get one until end of January to February. So my husband says, yeah, are we done, or are we going to have a super cold one this year? I wonder how that will affect my apple trees. I notice when we have a really big cold snap, we get a better apple crop the next year. So, because yeah, I had a second smaller tree I planted a few years ago, and it seemed like it was never going to produce any apples. And then we had that major cold snap where they had the Texas blackout, and then the next spring, that tree started producing apples. So, yeah, that's my theory anyway. That cold snap really got it going. It's because the trees are bred for this climate. Other trees, it would kill it. These are the Goodland. And they're very sour, but makes them really good for baking and making juice with them. That way you can add the sugar you want and it's not too sweet. I don't like things overly sweet. Okay, I did all of that because I wanted to be able to do all of these in a row. I'll do the other side with another thread, but 30, 45. To be able to do that whole line of them at once. Okay. Oh, I'm at 99, so I will reach 100. Said about background noise, that was the other half. Okay, and that was the kiddo. Okay. So this clock dial is pretty much done now. Okay. Oops. Get back into this bit of confetti here. Oh, got an end coming up there. There, to close this session out. one because I wanted to be able to do all 3 of these before parking again. Okay, another confetti stitch. 3052. The one time you want a nice tiny little piece, it's not Eddie. Oh. Yeah, I didn't expect any green in the fairy's body, but I guess that's the shading again. Sometimes they pick colors you wouldn't expect. Yeah, that's why I was trying to tell my dad with the whole, he said you could pick your own colors, but yeah, especially since it was a photocopy out of a library book, so I didn't have like a color picture to refer to either. So it would be hard to guess which colors they were using for shading because, yeah, sometimes they are not the colors you would expect. Like in my last project on the pillars, there was a lot of dark purple on them. And it did not look right at first when I was stitching up close. It looked odd to me, but then once you had more done and you were further away from it, yeah, it's the perfect shading. Sometimes when you're too close to it, it's hard to tell. Yeah, I saw one lady showed hers where it was a picture of a lady sitting at like a desk, and so her leg was under the table, and she said, and it was like this red maroon color for parts of her leg, and she thought, oh, that looks so wrong, but she trusted the pattern, and yeah, by the time she was done, the shading was perfect. But yeah, like she's saying, if I was, you know, picking the colors myself, this is not what I would have picked. I don't know, maybe you'd be better at that if you were like a painter or something, right? You'd know what colors work for the shading, even if an amateur wouldn't think they were correct. But I am definitely not a painter, so yeah, look, I was a little worried about Anju's face in this. It was very purple, but now that I'm further along, I'm thinking it does look okay. Because she's in the, sort of in the background and shadowed. So there's more shading on her. Yeah, this is stitching up a little darker than the mock-up, or the picture of the pattern. But the mock-up looks pretty good, so I'm going to persevere. At any rate, it's a smaller piece, so it's not as huge of a time investment if it turns out I end up not liking the shading. 3740. Yeah, and then I was saying about that right-hand corner is not much detail, but that looks like the sort of last part on this pattern that is background. Rest of it seems fairly detailed, so should be more interesting. I'll try to stitch that boring corner sort of off camera for you all, because that wouldn't be very interesting to watch. Okay, park that there. Okay. There. Now this part will go a little quicker. Not quite as much confetti there. Yeah, one drawback with lots of confetti too is there's more ends to come through from the wrong side there. Makes that snag tool invaluable. Oh, there it is again. My goodness, that's being persistent. There it is again. My gosh, you are just being a pest, aren't you? There. Probably no one would notice but me, but it would annoy me. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, goodness. There we are. Two, and there's that one there. Oh. Okay. I think we'll stitch till an even 140. I like ending on an even number, so I'm just weird like that. Getting back into a bit of background here. And then more of Link's hat, which will be, again, more blocks of color there. Okay, so that's 138. And 39 and 140. See if there's any There's more down there, but there's already a thread part there, so I won't bother carrying this one. I'll just tie it off. Okay, and down here is dark blue, so yeah, I'm okay to pin stitch it here. Okay, so 140. I think we will stop there. So as usual, thank you for joining me today, and I hope to see you here again another time. All right, thanks everyone. Bye.